Hello, 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 hello. Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. Check in, check in, check in. Come join, come join, come join. One. Everybody come join. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Sing old hymn. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Welcome, welcome. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Join in Liberation Labs tonight. Hello, 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 hello. Giving time for everybody to come on in. I would play music, but they'd mute us. I could sing some songs. Come on in, come on in. I hope everyone had an excellent Father's Day. Had the opportunity to at least remember your father or spend some time with the fathers in your life. I hope it was a wonderful, wonderful time. We're going to get into this in a bit as we have people come on in, give folks time to come on in. I'm going to find a way to share it on my page so we could come on in. Like, share, comment, as they say. Like, share, and comment. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Come on in. Come on in, come on in. Come on in, come on in. Come on in. Like to welcome everybody to Liberation Labs with Reverend Lexus, where we kind of go over the sermon on Sunday to have a conversation about it, to go in just a little deeper in terms of what was preached. We only get, as young preachers here, we only get, I'll say as Methodist preachers, we only get about 20 minutes. So people may have questions, have thoughts about the text, have wonders of what's going on. So we kind of break it down just a little bit deeper, to answer any questions or to have any thoughts. We just go a little more. This Sunday, we took the text of the in Luke 15, the prodigal son. That's what most people have heard this text from. You probably heard 50 million sermons on the prodigal son, but I took it from the perspective of the father and really looking at what did it mean to be a father, and not so much of telling men how to be fathers. Let me say that because I'm not a father, so I don't have the ability to tell anybody how to be a father. But this image that we have, and I think there's something there. There is something powerful, right, when a father speaks just naturally. Our earthly father. Let me clarify. Um, I discussed several times in the intro where I talked about the ways in which we see our parents are ideal to our Heavenly Father, how we see our deity. So many times, most people do not recognize that the way in which you see God is also how you see your parents. It takes some people a very long time to come out of that. So if you had a father, if you call God the Father, if you have a father who was a disciplinarian, then you may, now this isn't, it is the way it is, but you may see God as a punisher, right? A disciplinarian. So if you do something or everything that you do in life, suddenly you feel as though you're being disciplined by God. God is doing something to you, simply because probably one of your parents, most likely your father, is the person who was a disciplinarian. So when that happens, even if you don't feel like this space of what am I looking for? Of punishment, you may have this ideal of self-defeat that I just can't get right. Right? We have this moment where we sit in a space or we'll say, I just can't get right. I can't ever do nothing right. That normally comes from a place of your parents. So with that, now we transition that over to our own heavenly Father. So we believe that if you had a father who was very supportive, very loving, very kind, that's also how you see God. You see God as very loving, supporting. You know that God has always got your back. Your faith is probably set because you have seen the reflection of a father, an earthly father that can mimic now what we call a heavenly father. If your father was absent or may have died early, or died at some point, you may also see God as being absent, not always present around you or with you. So you have this idea that you may have faith in the Lord, but you kind of stick with the Lord is on the Lord's time. So you have this moment and this feeling that when you're dealing with God, you're asking God for things, it ain't going, you don't have an expeditious God. Your God's gonna show up. You got the on time God, and it ain't ever on your time. So that's kind of how you end up living your life. So we get to this text where we're looking at this father in the text, in which he is a different kind of dad. And what he ends up doing, he begins with silence. The son comes and, says, hey, I want my estate money right now. Run me my coins. And he goes off to go kick it and spend all the money. Where normally you hear people talk about the son in this moment and how he could have left. He could have went and got a job. Like there's a list of things that the son could have did, but very randomly or rarely do we talk about how the father responded. The father gave it. Here you go. Bye. And I likened it to, I don't know if your father has ever done it, but if your parent was like, go ahead. They give you a quick, like, I know better than you do. So you have this moment where you have the father like, go ahead. I would almost dare to say the father probably didn't even give him all the money he was supposed to get because he knew that he was about to enter into a space that wasn't it wasn't going to be beneficial to him. But there are some times when I believe that our earthly parents are aware. I'll say even the Lord knows. The Lord is aware that you're going to have to do this. Your personality, the way you function and move, you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to hit your head. You're going to have to go through the hard time because you don't learn just by somebody telling you it's a bad idea. You learn by finding yourself in the valley. You learn by exponential learning, and to a fact where if you're that kind of child, I believe God also knows that not so much as it's a form of punishment, but God knows if I tell it to you, you're not going to listen. So go ahead, go find out. And when you sit with that and go find out, then you really have to, that's a parent being a parent. And many times we take that as a form of rejection because the father could have stopped him and said no, and the father could have done, but the father knew better. Go ahead, because there are many times, if you think of your own life, that you could have been lectured to, and you knew it wouldn't have went that way. If I think about 20-year-old Lexus, like there's some things that could have been said and there's things that couldn't have been said, and maybe I'd have listened and maybe I'd have had to find out. So this is what we see in this father in the beginning of the text that's really sitting and talking about. He's saying, like, go ahead, here you go, take the money, go ahead. So we have this excerpt where the son goes off, he goes to the city. Some texts will tell you he went to go find him some prostitutes, but he spent all his money. He went and made it rain wherever he needed to make it rain. So he went and spent all his money and he comes back. But he comes back with this idea that he has to beg his father back. And now we get in the heart of the text of when we talk about relationship. So within the text, the father does not ask him where he has been or what he's done, because most of the time when you have children, you know what they did and you know where they've been. So he probably didn't even need to ask all of those questions. And many times, even for ourselves, God doesn't need our, what I call Easter speech of trauma. God, I've been through this. God, I'm working on this. God, okay, are you coming back or no? Like that's the catch. So the text says the father sees him way off, that the father was still looking, knowing that at some point his son was returning. And I think God feels that way about many of us. At some point, I know you'll be back. you have to run off and do this. You have to live your life. You have to get the bumps on your head. You have to feel it for yourself. And at some point, you will come back. People with children who are gone, who are, I don't want nothing to do with you, or children who have gone off to stray to figure life out and do all that. I think this is an excellent example in parenting of saying, go ahead, because I know at some point, I know who I have created and you will come back. And there's some hope in that. And I'm sure the father lived in the hope of that, knowing at some point, because the father was actually looking for this child. So if the father didn't think the child was going to come back, the father would not have been able to see this child running down the road. But because he's seen his child coming down the road, he was consistently looking for his child. And I think as Christians, it's important for us to know that God is still looking, right? God is still looking to see when you're going to come back, when you're going to turn around, when you're going to recognize some things that are happening in your life that has to kind of change, and when you want to come back to God. And I think it's important that we take a moment and come back to God and understand that God is waiting and ready to run towards us. Honestly, I just misinterpreted text by saying the child ran to the father. He didn't. The father ran to the son, running to him to say, I'm wanting you to come back. I was ready. I'm waiting for this moment. And that's exciting to know that no matter what I do, God is still waiting and ready to run back to me. And as the boy is getting ready to say, oh, Father, I'm so sorry for all the things I've done, the father is like, yo, I don't need all that. Let me bring him back his ring, his robe, his shoes. He immediately enters him into a place of identity. He puts him back into the streamline of the family. And that makes me pause to say, what would it look like if we as people welcomed people back, not because of their trauma, not because of their stories, but because we ourselves express radical love? So yeah, you had some problems. Yeah, you had some issues, but come on back. Let me put you back in your place of authority. So let me put the robe on you to cover all shame and grief. Don't worry about it. And not to ignore it. Let me caveat and asterisk that. Not saying ignore shame or grief, but let me just put and say, hey, I want to cover it with you to be able to protect you from you, right? From what you feel, what you may experience, how you may move. So the father puts a robe on him. Then the father puts a ring on him, giving him a sense of identity. Now knowing you are part of this family. This is a family ring you get put on. I didn't kick you out the family. You left. But you never were disconnected from the family. And many times people leave and then we judge them for coming back. They gone. I knew they was going to be gone. I can't wait till they come back. We have this moment where we immediately judge them leaving and coming back. But what if? What if they needed to leave in order for them to come back and be different? Because he came back he left as a son and came back willing to be a servant. Now, the fact that he asked for his inheritance tells me he did not start as a servant. So what if people need to leave our presence, need to leave our space? What if your own child, people who are now experiencing empty nesters who are about to go and you're struggling with that? What happens when they get to go and be who they are meant to become? This son was meant to become of service. He was supposed to learn something. And whatever that lesson was, I'm sure he learned that your money don't buy you everything you need because that money run out. But at the end of the day, there was a lesson that was learned. And then he was able to come back and then be back in position. I would dare say and hope, and as probably in the sermon, I'll say I use my sanctified imagination to think that at this moment, when he returned back, he now came back so much better that he was a benefit to the family. Are we pushing people away because they left, but they came back better? And then we chastise them for coming back better. We like to tell them what they used to do. I remember how you used to run. I remember what you used to do, instead of recognizing who they can, what life experiences have now shown them. And while some of that people don't do as much, right? We don't really chastise, and maybe in my context, I don't know about your context, but in most contexts, people aren't chastised. They're just whispered about. So now somebody comes back, whether it be the church, whether back in your family, and they come back and they have these great ideas and, hey, I can tell us how to do this. And now I want to be financially stable. So let me tell y'all how to be stable. And suddenly we got a roll of our neck or a roll of our eyes because we don't want to believe them because we remember when. But what happens when we allow people to experience life, whatever that life may be, and then allow them to come back? And when they have the ability to come back into our lives, we take that experience and use it for the good of God, right? For the good of the kingdom, for the good of the situation at whole. And I think many times we get selfish and get like the other brother, who I'm gonna get to in a second. But we get like the other brother and we say, we've been here. How dare you get to come back and get celebrated? So he gives them a ring, but he also tells them to put sandals on his feet. Servants were barefooted at the time. That's how you could tell. And sons of the family wore these shoes. So he then gives him these shoes to put on. There's an identifier there that many times we have this idea, and this may be the conservative side of me, but we have this idea that we're not set apart. But you're set apart for something. There is something in your life, whether I'm a pastor, so I'm set apart to be a pastor, but whatever your call is, you're set apart to do that. And that's the shoes you wear. So I can't wear your shoes if you are a doctor because I'm not a doctor. That's not my calling. You can't wear my shoes if I've been called to be a pastor and you have not. That's not how it works. And I believe, and I deeply believe, that God has given us all callings. And in the midst of that calling, there's some shoes you have to put on that identifies who you are unto God, unto the people, so that you are aware. And that doesn't mean you're any different. Maybe as a servant, they need to know they barefooted because of the work that they have to do and the ways in which they have to move. That's an identifier that we ultimately sit with. So what does, a lot of times we've moved into the space where it's not about excluding people, but identifying people. So I'm not saying everybody should be within the circle. Everybody should be in the family. Everybody has a position in the family. But what is your position? And where things get messed up is when we start filling other folks' positions. Them ain't your shoes. Take them off. Because we believe that we're more worthy to wear those shoes, not that we have the ability to be in the calling that we're set for. So God has a calling on your life. You have a calling and a purpose that's on your life that is connected to everyone around you, every person you talk to, every person you deal with. But when you start dealing in someone else's calling that ain't yours, this is when the struggle happens. This is when you're trying to figure out why it ain't working the way it's supposed to be working. This is why when life gets a little different, or you find that you're changing in life, and it's probably because the calling that once that you may have once had is changing. I do believe our callings are fluid and circular, that it's not just one calling that you sit with, that you have all day, but you have several callings that hit at different times in your life to fulfill the purpose in that moment. So make sure you're wearing the right shoes when that thing happens, and that you don't wear shoes for too long, because some folks is wearing some shoes they should have been took off. They got holes on them, they talking, all these things are happening. You know your feet are tired, you know they too tight, you're uncomfortable in life, and you keep wearing these shoes, and God is telling you, you got to move out of those shoes. That's not your shoes anymore. That's not the placement for you. So when that happens, you're trying to figure out why you feel constricted and why life isn't going the way you want it to go. It's probably because you got on the wrong shoes. God has called you to something bigger, something better. You went from slides to now heels, right? You need to be able, there's a way you can walk in slides that you can't walk in heels. And you need to know that as you elevate in life, as you learn, as life hits you, that there will be an elevation that will teach you to move differently in life. So that's the next thing he does. And he tells him to put on the robe, he tells him to put on the ring, then he tells him to put on the shoes. He embraces him, he then kisses him, a show of intimacy. How many people are you intimate with? Now, I don't mean sexually. Everybody take a deep breath. Don't clench your pearls. I ain't going there tonight. But how many people can honestly, how many people in your circle can say that they know you intimately? How many people can you sit with that trust you, know you, understand you, can sit with you? How many people are you intimate with? And not the folks who know your business, because that ain't intimacy. But how many people can see you cry and can honor your tears, who understand your pain? How many people can embrace that about you? Your flaws and all. Let me use my Beyonce terms. Your flaws and all. How many people know that about you? There has to be a few folks who know, who you can sit with, that you have the ability to be intimate with, and beyond your therapist. Now, everybody make sure you go get a therapist. BetterHelp, they ain't sponsoring, but BetterHelp, however you have to work it. But who else can you be intimate with? Who else can embrace you? I think sometimes, as much as I love It's Me and God, I love a good hug. I love a good touch to ensure that I'm in touch with people. I don't think that's a problem. Now, if there's some other stuff going on, you got to work that out between you and the Lord. But I definitely think that there should be some people that you have the ability to be intimate with, that they can embrace you at your best and at your worst. There's nothing like having or believing you have a friend who can embrace you at your best, or embrace you at your worst, but can't embrace you at your best. Or vice versa, who's always there in your best but can't be there in your worst. That's a struggle. You believe you're intimate with them, you believe you know them, and at your happiest moment is at their lowest moment. You're trying to figure out why they can't be happy for you. That's not intimacy. Maybe at that moment you got to stop and say, maybe we don't have the relationship we thought we had. And if we look at that as well in the larger capital C church, we also have to consider that as Christians. Or do we have the ability to embrace and be intimate with people? That don't mean tell people your business, because the one asterisk, don't tell folks stories you're not healed from. That's a big one. That'll probably hit another day. But don't tell people stories you're not healed from. But who are we embracing people to come in and not worried about how they look, how they smell, what their careers are? Have we become so classist that we side eye folks who walk in who are seeking the same God that we seek? And at the end of the day, when we all are laying on the bed in the hospital, we all are seeking the exact same God. So the ability, have we become so uppity and so intelligent and so all these things, which are not bad. Please make sure you're reading and you know your theology. But have we become so classist that it is hard for us to embrace those who really need us? And not from a standpoint of servanthood. So not that I give to the homeless, I help the people, but that I have the ability to embrace you and be intimate with you, that I can share a part of myself with you, to the point where you feel like you have now become a part of the family. And I think we've shunned away from that. For a list of reasons. I mean, we can start with white supremacy. We can start with a list of things, our own classism that we have developed, but this idea that it's hard for us to share our own intimate thoughts because these same people who you may share with may harm you. And that sucks, especially when it comes to the church. Because when you sit in a space where the place where you're supposed to feel safe is a place where you get harmed, what do you do now? Because that's what happens to the other brother in the text. So where the father is celebrating the one who is embraced, the other brother comes in and feels harmed. I've been here. I've been shooting in the gym. Why don't I have the exact same thing? I've been here. I've been trying to do all the things. I've been working with you. I've been mowing the lawn. I've been feeding the pigs. I've been milking the cows. I've done all the things, and you've never given me what you're giving him. That's a sibling thing. And I think that's a large part of parenting. Maybe the catch is you couldn't leave, because if you left, it would have went all bad. Ain't no telling what would have happened to you in them streets. So you decided to stay close to me. And I think that says something with our relationship with God. I got to stay close to you, Lord. Because if I veer off and go out to the big city and go kick it, I don't act right. I don't get it together. I spend all my money. Everything's all bad. But when I have the ability to stay close to you at all times, the text says you have everything you need right here. I never left you. Everything you want is right here. And I think we've come to a place where we've become mediocre Christians because we've sat in and we've gotten everything we need. That we have been okay with the fact that we stay at the house. We stay at mama's house. So we stay at daddy's house, and daddy makes sure that we fed, we get our laundry done, our clothes, our meals are cooked, everything is done. So then we have the audacity to look at other places and say they must be doing better. Listen, I don't know who I'm talking to. I might be talking to myself, but having this ability to say, I'm doing the work, I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing. But as I'm looking off, how they get the party? How are these other people? But I would dare offer, did he even ask to have a big cow? Did he ask for a goat? Were these questions even that he thought to ask of his father? And even us as Christians who have been Christians for a long time, and we can cite and quote all the scriptures and sing all the songs, have we asked for the thing that we actually want? Who knew? Did his father know he wanted a party? Who knew that he wanted a party? Because it sounds like dad was out here throwing parties. That's what he do. So are we asking God for what we want in life? Or have we become so complacent with, I'm just content in whatever you give me? Listen, I'm content, but the Lord also knows, Lord, we got some dreams and some goals. Lord, come on, let's work it out. And if that's the case, that's where we should be. Sometimes we lose having an expectation for God to move in our life because we've been doing this for so long that we don't expect God to move mightily unless we sick. Yeah, now listen, you get on the hospital and everybody, Lord, I expect you to heal me. And we get real deep with them prayers then. But what happens when, Lord, I'm just expecting you to show up in this situation? How about you can heal me in the hospital, but can you also heal me as I'm sitting in my room crying with my grief? I need that healing too. I need healing for my emotional health because I'm struggling with expressing myself appropriately. So I need a healing. I need healing mentally because I feel like there are days I'm losing my mind and my anxiety and my depression and my thoughts are overtaking me. I need that healing. And I have to have an expectation that God is going to heal that too. Not because somebody else is worse off than me. So I know God's going to heal them because they got it bad. But just because my problem may feel like a 10, God, I don't even need all that help. So I'm light work. Can you handle your light work? If I don't have a problem, dear Lord, handle your light work. There's a lot more happening in the world that you got to tend to. I'm just asking for a light work blessing. Can you run me the light work blessing? And there are times we just miss that because we don't want to ask, because how dare I ask for this when people are being deported right now? Well, listen, I still got to ask. If you can do it, you can do it. And when you can do it, you can do it. But it's a matter of us really sitting in that space and not becoming so comfortable as Christians that we believe that God still isn't waiting for our ask. The Father said, you can get everything you want. Shorter, I wish there was a semicolon that said, but did you ask for it? Like at that point sitting in, did you ask for what you wanted? I didn't know you wanted the fattest cow and a party. We could have done that 2 weeks ago. So you're upset because I did something for this son that I didn't do for you. But did you ask? Now, we don't know if he asked or not. We're not quite sure what happened in the text. The text doesn't allude to that. But you definitely have to sit in a space and ask yourself, where am I at in this tier of this story? Am I the father in which I'm willing to display radical love? That I'm willing to let those around me go and experience a life that they need to go and experience to come back, not as servants, but as sons, to come back with lessons, not to come back less than, but to come back excited and thriving and living. Do I have the ability to do that and do that in love, not in guilt, not in shame, but hey, go off. I'll be looking for you when you get ready to come back. I have the hope that what you learn out there, when you come back, you can use it here, that everything will expand and be in abundance and be great at the moment that you come back. Can we be that kind of father that shows this radical love that I don't even care what happened? It could have been horrible. Who knows? Don't tell me the story. I don't want to know. What I want to know and what I see is that you're back and you're here. And as a church, we definitely got to do that. I don't need to know where you've been. Thank you. I hope you figured it out. Hope you and the Lord had great conversations. Come on back in so that we can do what we need to do together. Because we have to come to a place where we realize that we are in this thing together, that our purposes are all aligned. Every person you talk to, from the lady in the grocery store who was talking stuff, or who you helped and paid forward to, whoever, from the person in the drive-through, whatever happened, we all have a purpose. We're all intertwined in this thing called life. So why not understand that your life is not for you? Now, I know people don't like to say that because you don't want to feel that. Now, I got a life and I got dreams. All that it is for you. That's for you to live out. But ultimately, your purpose is always connected to somebody else. So don't not live in it, because now you done messed up somebody else's life. So you got to live your life the best way that you can live, to ensure that the next person who you're connected to continues on with the cycle. That may save someone around you who you need. So you never know why you're connected to people, why you've talked to people, why things are happening in your life. Just go do what God has ultimately called you to do. And sometimes do it without asking questions. Just go do it. And I'm an inquisitive person. I stay with questions. And there are times when God has said, just do it. And I've been like, okay. And I've heard it in a place. The title of my sermon is When Daddy Speaks, because I think it's important that we take a moment to hear God speaking to us, that we do a lot of conversation with God. How much of your prayer time is spent in silence? Not sleeping, in silence, just sitting, waiting to hear. Do you know what the voice of the Lord sounds like for you? Have you had the ability to sit to hear? Because when God starts speaking, things start changing. Atmosphere starts shifting, environment starts shifting, your body starts moving when God starts speaking. But the big question is, can you hear God speak? Are you familiar with the voice of the Lord? And that's kind of the question, because that's the part that liberates you. You can get free when you can hear God, because then you'll know what direction you're supposed to go in. I hear you, Alicia. I had to go to sleep too. Like, ooh, maybe let me wake back up, Lord. We was talking. It happens, but that's a peace. Maybe you needed to go to sleep because that's a peace. I needed that peace. My mind was everywhere. I'm thinking and I'm trying to be quiet and I can't quiet my mind. Go to bed. Take a nap. Sometimes I do feel like that's God. Take a nap. You've been thinking too hard. Take a nap. Eat a Snicker, as they say. Silence yourself. It's hard. I've been working on my meditation to ensure that I have the ability to let the thought pass by and not allow myself and give myself the ability to hear God and not hear all my thoughts, or then we'll get to the place where we'll be thinking about something and we watch it on TV, and we'll be like, that's confirmation. You ain't heard God's voice not one time. What's confirming it? Where your confirmation coming from? So it's a lot of that, of just knowing really where we are and having that peace of God, but sitting and hearing the voice of God. When is the last time you heard the voice of God? Because that is what will liberate you. When Daddy speaks. I know some of us, I am one who refers to God as both he and she. So this was Father's Day, so it was a he, naturally. But when Daddy speaks, when you can hear the voice of God speaking to you, what do you hear? What is God saying? And will you move when God says to do it? Do we have the ability to show radical love to everybody in such a way? Everyone who's not causing us harm. That's I'm an asterisk I'm going to put on there, but I ain't going to go there tonight. But do we have the ability to have radical love for those who have left and are willing to come back? Can we come back and embrace them and not worry about the quirks, the concerns, the worries, but do we have the ability to embrace those who have left and come back? Yeah. And can we not be like the other brother? Can we tame in our jealousy and check ourselves? Have you unpacked some of the reasons why you get upset, some of the reasons why you struggle? Have you sat with yourself before you started talking to people? Have you sat with yourself to unpack how you feel about a situation before you respond to a situation? I wonder if the brother sat and said, you know what, I don't think I've asked Dad for a cow, before he said, you didn't give me one. Before we respond to people, we have to get to a place where we ask questions. Hey, why did you say that? Hey, your tone feels a little different. Can you explain that to me? Then we got to say it to ourselves, right? Have you ever felt an emotion and you sitting there trying to figure out why I feel this way? Why am I crying? This ain't, this didn't affect me. Why am I so emotional about it? Unpack that. Stop and say, why I need to stop and figure out why I feel this way. If this isn't how I normally feel, if this isn't normally my life, then why do I feel this way? And that'll cause us to have some emotional intelligence. That'll cause us to have some strength. That'll definitely beat your faith, because it'll allow your faith to expand when you can say, oh, this is a me thing. And 9 times out of 10, it's a me thing. It's something we going through. It's something we have not processed throughout our life. So if I was to pin this and go back to the other brother to preach the other brother, I would say, did you unpack it? Did you unpack that it's not about God didn't give you, but that you didn't ask the questions that you needed to ask in order to get what you needed in life? And well, ain't no point of being mad. Just go back and ask. Go back and ask your younger self, why didn't I do this? Why did I feel like this? Go back and ask your parents, hey, why did y'all do that? Now that you're an adult and can understand adulting a little better, hey, why did y'all move like this? Why did this happen? So you can understand the moves that your parents made as adults, not as parents, but as adults. Why did this happen? Why did this occur? It'll help you to unpack some of the things. If you don't have the ability to do that, maybe listening to stories will help you unpack some of the things in your life that you've sat with to say, I wonder blank, blank, blank. And when you can sit with I wonder blank, 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 you can start getting answers and then recognize your own behavior. So you don't have to be the other brother who says, I've been here and you ain't done for me. But now you can say, I've been here and I've done this with you. And I'm willing to continue the journey with you. And I'm excited. Let me go get my brother too. So that's all. We'll wrap it up tonight. But I wanted to take a moment to make sure I was on point, to make sure tonight's liberation is freeing you really from the thought that God isn't with you. God is with you. Are you asking the right questions? Are you having the ability to love people radically? Are you able to let go of folks to allow them to thrive? And to do it without guilting them or shaming them? Do you have the ability to not be the other brother and just be able to say, I embrace everything about a person, whether I like it or not, but I can move on and still give you your place within the Christian family. So y'all, I'm saying good night. Gonna go get some dinner now. Y'all have a good night. God bless y'all. See you next week.